Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with an awesome new knife consult for you on the brand new Brown Knives LHC. This is a prototype model that you see on the table. This was sold and then provided to me by a good friend named Kevin. He goes by Kev9 on Instagram, and you'll see him in the Facebook groups. But thank you, Kevin, for sending this one along. This is the LHC, Craig Brown's newest and latest frame lock flipper. This one integrates all the learning that he has brought from his previous three models. The first one was an integral, the second one was the servo, the first one was called the parabolic, that was the integral, then the servo, which you saw on my channel, and then the exponent, which you also saw, that was a front flipper. So this new knife, the LHC, is a bit like the servo had a baby with the exponent, and all the best parts of those two knives were saved. So let's go ahead and look at the certificate of authenticity. The LHC, yes, that name is an homage to the Large Hadron Collider, the machine that is now looking way back into the beginning of the universe by smashing atoms together. Very geeky name, and I do appreciate that very much. The blade is CPM 154. The handle material is high-grade titanium with a 4/16 stainless steel lock bar insert. This is prototype number 4 by Craig Brown. You can go ahead to brownknives.com to check out some more information. He's got some information on knife care and sharpening for those of you that are interested in maintaining your knives. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy real quick. This one features that interesting drop point style blade that we saw on the exponent and a brand new handle type. But what it does also feature is Craig's incredible CNC work, and we're going to get into more detail on that in just a second. Let's go ahead and bring out another couple of knives for a size comparison. Here you're going to see the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3, and the LHC slots right in between those two. You get as much blade as a PM2 and a handle as small as the Para 3. I definitely enjoy those types of ratios. I wish that I had a servo and an exponent. I imagine that this would slot in between those as well. So let's figure out how much this thing weighs. Craig has done a very good job of internally milling this knife to reduce weight, and this is coming in at 3.32 ounces. Let's get some other vital signs on the knife right here. I didn't bother to pull out the ruler just yet. Up front, you're looking at about 3.5 inches of blade length, maybe 3.4, maybe just under 3.5 inches. You're looking at just under 8 inches of overall length, maybe 7.9 inches, maybe 7.8 inches even. So a little bit on the smaller side than the servo there. A very nice EDC size, if you ask me. The handle thickness is coming in at 0.47 inches. And the blade stock at its thickest point is 150 thousandths right there. So a little bit thinner than some of the normal frame lock flippers you might see out there. Let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically and see what we're working with. Up front is that blade of CPM 154. This design is very similar to the exponent in terms of the overall profile. These sort of very specific Craig Brown drop point style blade. This is also accentuated by the plunge line right here that Craig has sort of made his signature since the servo. This time he has added a fuller to the blade design right there. I believe that the intention for the fuller is to allow it to be Spidey flickable, but on this particular model I'm not able to really do that. I think that perhaps eventually that might be a feature that could happen. I'm not entirely sure. If you're able to spider flick yours, let me know. I'm pretty good at it, and being unable to do it generally means that it's not going to be possible unless you have very specifically sized hands. In any case, I think the design is a step forward. It's certainly going to be polarizing. Some people don't like that plunge line. Some people think that this might get in the way of the cutting path, but really and truly you're not going to notice that too much. This is likely to be used for lighter duty, office style EDC cutting tasks, and so having the plunge grind like that is not a huge deal. What you'll also notice is the blade finish. This is sort of a tumbled hand rub satin. It's like he hand rubbed it and then he put it through the stone washer so that it has the sleek shininess of hand rub, but it has the usability of a stone-washed finish. So it's going to hide wear very well. The fuller area appears to be blasted, so you have a dual finish on there. There is a small amount of jimping, and with that little bit of ramp up from the handle, it provides a nice place for your thumb to rest and some actual jimping traction so that it actually functions. You can reach up and over as a pen knife, and that works very well. Moving back to the pivot, this is an important part of the knife. This is running on Craig Brown's proprietary pivot system, where he has his own ceramic bearings in nylitron or black plastic washers. That is an ideal setup. That is the lowest coefficient of friction available between the ball bearing and the housing. So Craig is a geek for numbers and efficiency, and one of the guys that taught me a whole lot about what I know regarding pivot dynamics. And so if anyone is going to be doing it right, it's him, and it shows. I will say that as a global project, Craig's goal for this was to create a flipper with, and I quote, a world-class action. That means both in detent and in drop shut. If you owned a servo, you know that that was very smooth. I will say the early models had a bit of a light detent and the lockup was not perfect. The Exponent took it to the next level where there was absolutely no resistance in either opening or closing. It was like it was being transported electromagnetically. There was almost no resistance. This time, I believe that Craig has been able to tune a very perfect action, at least into this prototype. I'm not exactly sure what he's done differently, but the detent is just right. The flipper tab is just right. The servo's flipper tab was a little bit smooth and it was easy to come off of it. This one here is great, and the drop shut action is to die for. That is absolutely my favorite way for a blade to drop shut, is just the smallest amount of consistent resistance, and as it falls, it clicks into place with an audible detent pop. I really like it. Craig has certainly achieved the main goal of this knife. He mentioned that a lot of sub-goals were personal to him and have a lot more to do with CNC work. So why don't we talk about that while we move back to the handles. What you're going to notice on this prototype, this one has a very specific pattern in the material right here. This has been CNC machined into a grid-like pattern. You're going to notice now the Brown Knives logo is on the pivot, which is now an oblong shape. And I like that it's sort of a unique and hidden method right there. It's not so in your face with the design, and I think that it is very unique amongst other companies. He has Torx bit screws on the construction. On the back here, you're going to notice that same grid pattern carried over. This one also includes that on the clip. The clip is a milled piece of titanium. It's got just enough spring and just enough ramp. This does not have any milling up underneath the clip. That may be something worth considering on the non-prototype models. But I will say that this is smooth enough. This does not have any real grip like a G10 that's textured might. It's not going to tear your pants up in the same way. It's got enough of a smoothness to it that it will slide in and out just fine. The back spacer continues that geared look where it's flush with the frame, but you can see that it's milled deeply and down into it. Very nice looking pattern right there. Provides some traction in the swell of the hand here, in the palm of the hand, but is not uncomfortable in any way. One of the things that this handle does is it tapers towards the back end right here. That may cause some difficulties with overall traction, but it's unlikely that this one is going to be used in anything other than a light to medium duty EDC, so that should not be a problem. Ergonomically, the knife fits in the hand quite well. There are no hot spots that I can really feel, including this clip. I know it looks like a 3D piece of machined metal that may be rough in the hand, but as I grip it, I'm not feeling any hot spots. You can choke up on the knife this far, and honestly, it's quite nice in the hand. To have a 3.4-inch blade, 3.3 ounces, you've met that golden ratio, even exceeded it. That is due to the extensive internal pocketing Here you can see the inside of the scales are pocketed on both sides. On the on the presentation side, there are 4 large circles that are milled into that, and on the lock side, there is 1 long strip that has been milled out up top over here. It is extremely lightweight. You're going to notice on the inside it says "Made in the USA" and it says LHC over here. Hopefully you can read that. You can see the hidden screws for the clip and then the milling of the backspacer. Whenever anyone mills a line in the middle of their backspacer, their knives had better be on center. This one comes dead centered. So nice to see that when those are milled in and then it's dead centered like this. That's really cool. Very, very nicely done. I will say Craig has come a long way with his abilities and his techniques, and the LHC is an evolution of his craft. This knife aesthetically is not going to be for everyone. Some people are not going to like the way it looks, but I will say the people who liked the way that the servo and the exponent look are going to love the way that this knife looks. It is not ugly, it's just very unique. And I think that what this really is an incredible feat of engineering and manufacturing. Craig has really come a very long way from the original servos and the parabolics. He now really has a very tightly machined, tightly integrated knife with its own language. His knives all have his specific DNA, and he has crafted a brand that is certainly unique in the marketplace today. The LHC is the best knife that he has made so far, in my personal opinion. It has all the pieces of a high-end EDC knife. It's got a lock bar cutaway. It's got elevated ramp right here. It's got great ergonomics. It's got excellent action. It's got internal milling with excellent weight to blade length ratios here. The blade itself is flat ground and meant for everyday use. It's got a tumbled finish that should work very well in EDC use. And the thing that Craig does is he never stops creating. This is a prototype, as I mentioned, P4. And so just as with his other knives, there are things that are subject to change. I already know that he is going to do some modifications to the clip right here. And there may be some others as this hits full production. But if you are interested in an LHC, you should head over to Brown Knives or head over to Instagram and follow him at Brown Knives. He normally does a first come, first serve type of purchasing on his website, and he will announce them through his Instagram feeds. So pay close attention to that. Usually they're maker's choice, but you know, you never know. Strike up a conversation with him and see what happens. Definitely a nice guy, very easy to talk to. And thanks again to Kevin for allowing me to take a look at this. Thanks to Craig for answering some questions about the knife and always being a nice guy and making a killer product. This is the LHC. Go and check it out. And thanks again for watching, guys. Go ahead and click like and subscribe down below. Follow me on Instagram as Dr. Frunkey. Head over to patreon.com/Dr. Frunkey where you can help support me. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.